The Phoenix Housing and Equal Opportunity Department joined HUD and the nation in celebrating National Fair Housing Month right now in April. Hello, I'm Deborah Cedillo Dugan, and joining me now is Elisa Blanford. She is the Deputy Director for the Equal Opportunity Department. She's been with the City of Phoenix close to 10 years, and she has a very colorful background. Elisa, thank you so much for joining us. I want to first start off with about a little bit about you. You're an attorney, and what kind of law did you practice, and how did you come to us here at the City of Phoenix?
Well, good morning, Deborah. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm really excited to get to talk about Fair Housing Month. So, a little bit about me. I'm actually a Phoenix native. I grew up and went to high school here. I went off to Cornell. I have a degree in industrial and labor relations. I graduated from Emory Law School in Atlanta, and then decided it was time to come back to Phoenix. My background is in employment and discrimination law. I've my entire career has been focused on that. I worked for the state of Arizona for 8 years, and then came over to the city of Phoenix because an amazing opportunity opened up to do labor and employment for the city of Phoenix, which is what I'd always wanted to do. So I'm very excited to be a city of Phoenix employee for since 2012.
And the city is so lucky to have somebody of your caliber and very, very impressive background. So both Emory and Cornell, excellent schools. So let's talk about fair housing. And what does that mean for the regular person? What is fair housing? What does it mean to the homeowner or somebody maybe wants to rent right here in Phoenix?
So for the regular person, the regular homeowner, the regular renter, what this means is you can't discriminate and you can't be discriminated against when it comes to buying or leasing a home or an apartment or in any aspect of home ownership. That includes getting a mortgage. That includes even which homes you're allowed to look at. And this all came about, the Fair Housing Act was enacted in 1968, 7 days after Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. And so, what many people maybe don't realize is that Martin Luther King Jr. and a lot of the civil rights movement back in the 60s was focused on housing because they recognized that housing is so important to promote racial equity and educational opportunities because so much is tied into where you live and where you can live. And they recognize that African Americans and other minorities were being denied these opportunities. So this was a law that had been pushed, and then 7 days after Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated, the law was passed by Congress, and then LBJ signed it shortly thereafter. Since then, it has been expanded to include some additional categories of protected categories. So right now, what that means is you cannot be discriminated against because of your race, your color, your national origin, your gender, religion, family status, or disability. And then very recently, HUD issued new guidance. You also cannot be discriminated against because of your sexual orientation or gender identity. So all of these categories are protected in every aspect of the housing process. So it's a very important law to make sure that everyone has equal opportunity and equal access for housing opportunities, not only in the city of Phoenix, but across the nation.
Oh, and I can see why too. And one thing so great, well, there's so many things great about the city of Phoenix there too. And number one is in fact inclusiveness. Let me ask you, overall, how does the city fare in fair housing? I know we're making some huge strides, and every time I turn around, there's another affordable housing going up in areas, and there's all these great Section 8 homes and whatnot. How do you say we're doing as a city?
I'm very proud to represent the city and work for the city on this aspect because, as I said, HUD recently recognized sexual orientation and gender identity. That's been in the City of Phoenix code for years. We have always been one of the forerunners in protecting people's rights and giving these protections to people. And obviously, no one is perfect, but the City of Phoenix has always been a forerunner in this category, in terms of protecting rights under the Fair Housing Act, and especially under our own city code that provides the same protections, if not more, than are provided by federal law.
Let's talk about if there is a homeowner, maybe somebody who's new. It could be maybe even a refugee or an immigrant that's moved to our city and not really familiar with the laws or as a nation, but even here specifically here in Phoenix. Um, you also obviously provide a resource within your department, correct?
Correct. We do provide a resource. So not only on our website, we do partner with the Southwest Fair Housing Council to provide regular workshops to educate people. It's often realtors and landlords to make sure they're aware of their responsibilities. But we partner with other organizations to make sure that people are on the other side, the flip side, that they're aware of their rights and they're aware of where they can go to file complaints or get resources. And so that includes EOD, but that also includes the Attorney General's office, the Southwest Fair Housing Council, as well as HUD, who's responsible for it nationwide. All of these are resources that people can reach out to find out about their rights or their responsibilities under the Fair Housing Act and under the City of Phoenix city code if they are living within or located within the City of Phoenix limits.
And why April? And I know HUD and is in partnership with HUD and Fair Housing celebrate a month. Is this the time that you really push out that public awareness that, hey, we exist and come use us if you have an issue or concern?
So April is when the Fair Housing Act was signed. So HUD has
Good
tied
answer. Good
the
answer.
fair. So it makes sense. Fair housing awareness in April for when it was signed. And we do try to push out a lot of education, a lot of awareness, a lot of events. Unfortunately, this year, because of the pandemic, not only the city of Phoenix, but all of our fair housing partners have been somewhat more limited in what we can do. We have every hope that as the restrictions lift, as the situation gets better, we will be able to re-engage in our more not aggressive, but our more outreach activities to make sure that we are getting outreach to the places that we need to get to.
That's excellent. Thank you so much for what you do for our city residents and for people who just want shelter. They need a place over their heads and rightfully so to be treated fairly and equitably, as you mentioned. So thank you so much for what you do. I really appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
And for more information about fair housing, you can visit Phoenix.gov EOD. Again, that's Phoenix.gov/EOD. Or you can call 602-262-7716. For Phoenix TV, I'm Deborah Cedillo Dugan.